God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you for joining me on this hump day. We're on the downhill side of the week. Hang in there. We're almost to the weekend. I got two videos for you today. This first one is about the gun control march that happened across the country today. It was the first in a series of protests that will be taking place over the next couple of weeks. This one was a school walkout put on by many schools across the country. Apparently, thousands of locations participated. And I want to look at a couple of the quotes that have been captured here in this Fox News column. Now, it's important to talk about these quotes, not because the kids are stupid and don't know what they're talking about and shouldn't be talking, but it is important to talk about these things because so many people are going to be falling in line behind these demands because the kids are being used to push this agenda. In some cases, like the Parkland incident, the kids, people are jumping behind the kids because they're a victim of the shootings. Most of these kids are think of the children shields for the gun control agenda. So it's important to look beyond what the kids are saying, beyond the fact that they're kids, and look at what is being said. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're not going to talk about the kids. We're going to talk about what they said. And so, with that in mind, let us get to the first quote that I wanted to look at. It is right here. There it is, below that ad. One student from Prince George's County told the Washington Post that many schools in her district are participating in on-campus walkouts to pay our respects and show that the student voice matters, and we won't stand for the lack of gun control when it comes to school safety. Now, one thing that I want to point out that I've been pointing out so far in talking about this incident is that the apex of gun control, a full and complete ban of all firearms, is the law on school property. All across the country, every school in the United States of America is a gun-free zone. But perhaps then that is why gun control must be expanded. After all, clearly guns can be controlled. There are so few guns in schools that only the shooters of the criminals in these school shootings have the guns. So obviously gun control works in schools. Why shouldn't it work all across the country? Why shouldn't we disarm all the United States citizens? If only we could keep the criminals from getting the guns off campus, we could keep them from bringing guns onto campus. What's not realized is the magnitude of gun control that would have to happen so that nobody could procure a gun, or so that no criminal could procure a gun off campus. But then that gets into my next criticism of the gun control movement, and it also conveniently gets us into the next quote that is captured here in the Fox News column. 17 people are dead, and I'm no longer willing to listen to politicians who deem my life less valuable than a piece of metal, said one individual in California. And I would like, well, her name is right there. Let's just address her directly. Miss Maya Homan. You have either been terribly, terribly misinformed and misled, or you are doing the misleading and misinforming. I will assume that you have been misled. You have been misled into believing that the gun control and gun rights debate is about the gun and is about the ownership and carrying of guns. But I am here to tell you that that is not the case. Gun rights are not about guns. They are about the preservation of life and liberty. Even if you don't believe that the carrying of guns is about the preservation of liberty, it must be about the preservation of life. Let me explain. Why does anybody carry a weapon? Any weapon. It doesn't have to be a gun. It can be any weapon. The reason that you would carry a weapon, and this could include your fists, The reason you would carry a weapon is to be dangerous. And why would anybody, any law-abiding citizen, need to be dangerous? Well, at the most base level, given that if you assume that there are no evil people in humanity, then at a most basic level, people need to be dangerous because there are dangerous creatures in this world that are capable and at times seek out to kill humans. There are bears, there are wolves, there are big cats. There are dangerous animals in this world that sometimes need to be killed by humans for the preservation of human life. Because, contrary to what many in the environmentalist community would have you believe, human lives are just a little bit more valuable than animal lives. Therefore, sometimes an animal needs to be killed in order to preserve the life of a human. For this reason and this reason alone, humans need to be able to access dangerous weaponry. That's the ideal world. But that assumption, the assumption that there are no evil humans, or even if you're not willing to concede that there are no evil humans, but but you must be able to concede that there is evil within some humans. Not that the humans themselves are evil, but that there is evil within them and that they act on that evil to carry out harm against others. That is reality, and you cannot assume that it is not reality, because we see evil acts carried out on humans all the time. In fact, according to the mainstream media, there are evil humans in power in the United States of America. You can't assume that there are no evil humans. To assume that there are no evil humans would mean that Republicans, conservatives, and the man who calls himself President, Donald J. Trump, are not evil. And you're not willing to assume that, so you can't assume that there is no evil in humanity, or even that there are no evil humans. Therefore, you must assume that there are going to be humans that seek to carry out harm, whether that be theft of property, or violation of bodily constitution, or even death. There are going to be humans that seek to inflict those pains upon other humans. And if you will assume that bodily harm, property theft, and death are negatives that are inflicted upon people, then the people upon which those things are being inflicted are victims, and therefore have the right to respond with violence against the people that would seek to inflict violence upon them. People that are stealing are not afraid of theft. People that are inflicting harm are not afraid of harm inflicted upon them in return. The only thing that criminals that are seeking to inflict harm upon people are afraid of is the threat of death. And so a victim must be able to access deadly force and able to deter harm upon themselves. And there are a variety of weapons that could be wielded with deadly force. You could wield your body with deadly force. Punching, kicking, using other motions, you can inflict deadly force upon a person. But it takes a lot of training to make a person deadly with their body. A lot of time that many people don't have. A lot of dedication that a lot of people don't have. You could wield bladed weapons, knives, swords, other things. You could wield those things with deadly efficiency. But again, it takes a lot of training to use those weapons with deadly efficiency. It takes a lot of training to use those weapons in such a way that those weapons won't be taken from you and used against you. Again, training that takes a lot of time and dedication and effort that a lot of people don't have. But there is a weapon that doesn't take that kind of training to be deathly proficient with it. That weapon is called a firearm. Guns are called the great equalizer for this reason. It doesn't take a ton of training, a ton of time and effort to be deathly proficient with this weapon. And so it's the weapon of choice for many people in a self-defense scenario. Because this weapon is so easy to procure and master, criminals are going to obtain these weapons as well. So it is incumbent upon a defender to acquire and become proficient in the most deadly weapon he can, so that he can be the most dangerous person in a self-defense scenario. Not because he is going to carry out violence against others, but because he needs to be able to defend himself in a violent situation. For the reason of preservation of life alone, even if we did not prize liberty, it is indisputable that human beings prize life. And even if many people in this country did not prize liberty, the wielding of deadly weapons like firearms is justified by the prizing of human life alone. And for this reason, Miss Homan, we have the debate between restriction of access to firearms and the right to carry firearms. It has nothing to do with the weapon. It has everything to do with the preservation of life and the preservation of liberty. But I want to stress in the most extreme terms that I can that the preservation of life and the right to preservation of life alone justifies the keeping and wielding of deadly weaponry. That is where the debate is. And if you don't believe that human beings have the right to deadly weaponry so that they can preserve life, then there is no compromise to be had. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you'll come back for our next video. It's going to be about the Pennsylvania special election. If you want to see it, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Agree, disagree, what have you. I'd love to hear your opinion. Come back for the next video. See you then. God bless.